Alright, want to do a quick audio check for you guys tuning in. Josh, I see you're already hanging out. Let us know if you can hear us okay. And we can make adjustments if we need to here. If you guys want to just say random stuff real quick here.
Oh, okay, just random anything?
Just whatever you want.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
Final Fantasy 15 Comrades multiplayer is incredible. I don't care what the haters say.
Oh my god.
This is Naoki Yoshida.
This is Fern Hall.
And you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
And then it messed up the thing again. and now everybody is Flattus.
Yeah.
Oh, it's doing that stupid. Why?
Flattus.
I just set this up. It's doing the speaker thing again.
Now it's me. What's up, world?
What?
I am Flattus and Fusion. Welcome to the Aetheryte Radio podcast.
What the heck? I just set this up.
It's okay.
Why?
If we didn't have a technical glitch at the start, it would be a bad sign for 2018.
Is it because I minimized the window? Is that why?
Oh, probably.
Oh, you stupid thing. Great.
And for whatever reason, you're showing my last name on Flattus's thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Let's,
it's okay. My last name's public on Twitter. It's not like I'm hiding it. A strong name. It's a strong name.
Pain in the butt. I don't understand. I had it all set up. It was working fine.
Are we live? Can they hear us?
They can't. Okay, we are totally live. And
Okay,
then we got Josh laughing at us in the chat, so we're good.
Welcome to the internet. Brian, aka Brin here for Aetheryte Radio. While Fusion tries to get this figured out and display some fun things, we figured we would just talk to you and tell you just how amazing you guys are. So I know you can't see me, but as always, I smile chin to chin or cheek to cheek. I don't know how English works. And so Flattus, while Fusion works on this, man, obviously you're coming over from Maelstrom Radio. Why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
Sure. I've been packing up my FC house and getting ready to relinquish / sell it on Fanfrick because we are moving.
Where?
Rashid and I made the decision. We told the FC we're going to move over to Gilgamesh since it's open, and we're going to destroy Greg. So I can't wait for that.
You heard it here. I'm not assuming first, but we're just going to say it's first.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
So
I'm like, this thing sucks.
So for anybody, obviously, like Maelstrom Radio, you guys talk about a lot about 14. Tell me more about your radio and your podcast.
Yes,
program.
please feel free to kill as much time
Sure.
as you possibly can.
I love talking about my show. Maelstrom Radio is essentially the daily show / Colbert Report of Final Fantasy 14 news. we decided a long time ago that when early days of Maelstrom Radio very serious, and it's like that's not fun, and we started being less serious. And I said, well, we're still just doing the news. It's like, well, why don't we just make fun of the news? Like, all right, we can do that. So we did that instead, and it's paying off for us.
So let's hijack that just for a minute. So we had some news that just dropped yesterday with the free logging campaign. How would you make fun of it? Let's put you on the spot.
Oh, you mean that all my friends that are not playing right now can decide to not play even for free? Sweet.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that to happen. Guys, look, you can not pay to not play. So here you go. Just come back, and they'll be like, they'll come back.
Yeah, you could come back if you're not like playing like any other game during this like season of awesome video game releases.
Yeah. What's 4.2? Not during that campaign.
The thing that drives me, it's always I feel for people because no matter what, somebody gets bit by it. It's like it's 96 from the time you log in, and so it's like somebody gets bit by that every time where they're like, oh great, I'll update, and then I'm gonna come in and on Monday I'm gonna play for a couple days because I got time off, and then they come back Monday and they're like, what? Yeah. It's like I updated on Thursday. I thought it'd be ready to go.
No. Although, I mean, if you're a PvP fan of the game, like if you like the changes in 4.0 and you're waiting for something more to happen for it, Rival Wings is pretty hot. I enjoy that.
You mean everybody to the North Lane? I said everybody North Lane. North. Why am I the only North Lane here? Like, guys, North Lane, and then we lose.
Yeah.
Oppressors on North Lane. Oppressors. Like, oh my gosh.
It's fun watching people that have never played a MOBA before, like running in. They're like, I'm like, you're all dying. Why are you dying? And then I'm like, it's like, poor baby bus.
I finally got the cam set up. For some reason, it kept loading like 20 instances of my face. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I don't know. I don't understand why this is a thing.
I'm with you. I actually really enjoy the new PvP mode. It feels for me, outside of the fact that the healers are like God in that mode, the most balanced PvP mode of them so far.
Yeah, I got in on when they did Duty Commenced, and I was on Akmorn and Aya's team the first round, and then I was against them the second round, and I made sure that I killed every summoner, scholar on the other team, and just to make sure I killed Akmorn.
Nice. I was on their team both times, so I didn't kill them, but I did Untitled Chapter them a couple times.
I find that people like with the missile from the oppressor will still run away from the impact. Like it does not hurt players at all. Like that. So, but it's still fun to see like if they're hurting you, to just try to drop a missile.
I feel like there's actually like a decent like a delay between like the actual attack going off and if you get hit or not, and it's just like it's very favorable to the mech user.
It is.
So
you can watch my old streams. You'll see me out of the area, and then us will get hit with a beam, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I've gone back and reviewed my video. I'm like, wait a tick.
Let's go back and watch the instant replay. Yeah, we're gonna have to throw a flag. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
flag on the field. We're reviewing the footage. It's really interesting because 14's like at an interesting point as it is right now from that fact. So you have the PvP, which the thing that I was thinking on the other day was the PvP was originally scheduled for 4.05. Pretty much this summer. It got pushed back. Okay, that's fine. Imagine how void this holiday season would be if the PvP had not been pushed back.
Well, to be fair, we would have gotten Eureka if they were on schedule.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
So we would be doing good right now, in theory.
Yeah. I wonder though, because it's like the question in my mind is, 3.1 was really late in its life cycle because people needed to take a break from launching Heaven's Word. But with 4.1, it was on target. It just probably felt a little bit thin comparative to what we're usually used to. So I'm hoping that 4.2 is that really big content drop. You'll have the new raids. You'll have there's a lot that we already know that they're having, but I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more.
Well, and I think a part of that thinness potentially is that they're the ultimate now, right? So we didn't get that extra dungeon, so it feels like they're to the non-hardcore players, right?
Well, yeah, there's nothing to progress on, and that's like the new. I mean, we still got the 24-man, which is good. There's a lot of good that came with it. I just am like at the point where it's 'tis the season. I guess it's there's plenty of other games to play. And I'm looking forward to 14. Hey, I see us now all on stream. Yeah.
Yeah, I fixed it. I don't know what the heck happened there. It's like I want to redo the intro, but I'm afraid that if I roll that again, it's gonna mess up the cameras again. So I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah.
And
right.
we'll just let it be. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I think my green screen is acting up again too.
It's okay. So anyway, you're the main host of this. I've been just kind of.
We should. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can actually like start the show now if we wanted to.
It's up to you, boss.
That's a thing that we could do. Let me tweak my green screen here just a little bit. This is bugging me.
So while we've been just kind of talking, obviously, Fusion, you've been doing the extra live. Y'all met the team goal, right?
Yeah. So here, all right. I think we're good. We'll do a formal intro for the show now.
Okay.
God, this has been such a pain. I apologize. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Final Fantasy. I can't even do the intro right. This is great. I think I butchered it last week too, or last episode.
If you're thinking last week, man, maybe you need to get a little bit more.
Maybe that's what it is. What is today? What year is it? I don't know.
We're about to transition. It's
right.
The year.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want. I was going to make a joke that would take us down a rabbit hole.
Oh boy. Maybe
Go
not. Hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Gamerscape's Final Fantasy 14 podcast. I'm Fusionx. Joining me today, we have the one, the only, as far as we know, Brin. And joining us from Maelstrom Radio, we have Flattus.
Hi.
Zenidra, Syl, and Aldino are all out today, as you can tell.
I think sick, right? Like I've been seeing the chat. I know.
Yeah, Aldino is getting stuck with them holiday deadlines. And then Zenitra and Sil are under the weather. So, and then
So
I
what
was
you
up
guys
actually in the middle of last night too because I wasn't feeling good, but I'm better now.
Well, that's
So
good.
I woke up and I'm like, man, I feel like crap, and I was just like, oh no, I had so much stuff planned for today.
I was up in the middle of the night because I have children. So,
Well, see there you go. So you could just be tired. You don't feel like crap. I mean, so you got that
That's
going
true.
for you.
Well, coffee is the surefire cure for anything in that I suffer. With it's it's like, oh, I'm up, coffee, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I forgot to hit
have
record.
Serious?
No.
We weren't far in. It's okay. It's okay. All right, one more time.
This time we're gonna be.
Welcome to How Not to Do a Podcast on Twitch. All right. Hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Gamerscape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm Fusionx, and joining me today we have Brin, and from Maelstrom Radio we have Flattus. Zenitra, Sil, and Aldino are out today. Just other things, work or sick. So hopefully they get better, and they will be back later. Shout out to Chili in our Twitch chat. If you want to tune into our shows live, you can do that. Twitch.tv/Gamerscape. We're always tweeting before we go live. We're scheduling them as well in our little event schedule thing down below the video on Twitch. So make sure to keep an eye on that for future casts. Today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, a little bit of Extra Life, some interview stuff, and our topic on 5.0 job predictions. So let's get into this first here. Extra Life. We did Extra Life at the beginning of November with our Final Fantasy XIV content creators group. We reached our initial goal of $1,000 within the first 2 hours. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
And so then we bumped our goal up to $5,000 after that, and we have met that, which is super awesome. So we definitely want to give a big shout out to everybody that helped us reach that. We also want to give a giant thank you to Square Enix providing just a bunch of awesome giveaway items. We still have some to give away. So today, right after the show, I'm going to be logging in at 14. I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet. But we're going to stream for a good chunk of the day here and try and hit the Gamerscape goal of $1,000. We're at, I believe, $750, $760 right now. So we're close, and we still have giveaway items. So for $10, a minimum donation of $10, you will be entered in a raffle. And we've got Stormblood posters, we've got Stormblood notebooks, we've got Susano shirts, and we got some copies of Kingdom Hearts. Gosh, the names. 1.5 plus 2.5 HD remix, I think.
That's it. Yeah, you got it.
And
Is that for PS4?
I've probably had to type that a few times if I ever did posts on Kingdom Hearts, so it's ingrained in my brain. And then we have a copy of Star Ocean, Integrity and Faithlessness. I think the same person names the Star Ocean games and the Kingdom Hearts. It's such a weird name. But yeah, so we got some copies of that, $10, limited to US and Canada. You can still donate if you're overseas, but for the shipping of prices and stuff, it is limited to US and Canada because it costs a lot of money to ship overseas. So, but we will be doing that after this, maybe tiny break in between. But so if you want to stick around for that, we would definitely, I would definitely love the company. And then if you guys are on the Primal Data Center, we can hook up and do roulettes or Rabanest or whatever. One thing we want to go into real quick here, this dropped right after our last episode. We had a chance to send some questions over to Soken, who's the greatest guy ever.
He takes some good pictures. That's for sure.
His pictures are crazy. And I know I've told this story 1,000 times, but I interviewed him back at PAX a couple years ago, right? And the kind of standard is we can get a picture of the person or with the person, whatever. And so we take a picture, and then he looks at me. He's like, "One more. This time, make funny face." And so that's why if you go back to our PAX, I think it was PAX Prime because it wasn't West yet. It was PAX Prime. You go back and you scroll down to the bottom of the interview. There's a picture of Soken just looking crazy and me with my mouth open looking like an idiot. So that's why, and that's the story behind that. But at the end of September, as I'm sure a lot of you know, they had the Final Fantasy XIV Orchestra Concert out in Japan, and so we sent him over some questions about that, asking him how the prep was for that, how he selected pieces and all that kind of stuff. One of the interesting things, Soken's father actually was a member of the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra.
Really?
Who played at the concert, yeah. And then after that, he was actually part of the NHK Philharmonic. So their music runs in the family, I guess. So that's pretty cool.
That does help to if you're musical.
Yeah. Also asked him about the Oblivion. So at the actual concert, if you guys have picked up the soundtracks, you know that there's a couple versions of Oblivion floating around. There's the original in-game version, and then there's the I think it's called the Never Let It Go mix or whatever. And so at the orchestra concert, they actually played Oblivion as a quartet. So now they did another kind of a take on it. And so we asked him, how did you come to do this? And he said, I originally thought of wanting to do a ballad arrangement for the song. And when I realized that the third soundtrack before the fall, I went to various, or when he released it, sorry, he went to a bunch of CD shops. Anytime they get the soundtrack out there, he's always going around to, Tower Records or, all the other CD shops, doing promos and signing stuff. And he was in a shop in Hokkaido, and he heard that there was somebody there who worked at the store that was also a singer. And so they asked her if she would sing Shiva's song while he played it on the piano. And then after they performed it, he made him think that that kind of composition would be a cool arrangement. So after that, they went and did the Never Let It Go version that ended up on the Duality disc. And then after that, when he was prepping for the concert, he was thinking about how he could best express Shiva's ballad using an orchestra, and then that's how he settled on a quartet. So there's a lot going on there with Oblivion.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to kind of follow that and see how that has kind of changed the arrangement. Another thing that they did during the orchestra as well, they played Mobius, which is the first phase of Alexander. So they didn't do Rise as an orchestra. That would have been, could you imagine? But during that, they actually did a time pause.
Oh wow!
And during that time pause, 3 men came out with instruments and walked through the crowd. Yoshida playing a drum, Uematsu playing a triangle, and Soken playing I don't even know what that is. I can't tell from the picture, but they were all playing something as the idea was they were like the Moogle band. Yeah. Right? They were, and so we asked him, how was this related to the time pause that they did during the Frankfurt Fan Fest when they were playing Rise, and they did the time freeze. And they said, originally when we were brainstorming ideas for the orchestra concert, Yoshida-san had mentioned that he would love to have a dramatic moment where time for the performers stopped. The pause during Frankfurt was actually based on that idea, so in actuality, the idea for the orchestra concert came first.
Wow.
We asked him, does Yoshida play a mad drum? He says his performance was, quote, okay. I'd like for him to try out Extreme next. He'll have to practice a lot, huh? And of course, the thing, the question on everybody's mind: are we going to be seeing these concerts outside of Japan? He says Final Fantasy XIV is a global title, so we do not intend to end it with just Japan. We'll work hard to bring this to as many locations as we are able, but it's really hard to execute a concert at this scale while still working on the development of the game. However, we are Final Fantasy XIV, and we will do our best to make it happen. If and when we do get an overseas concert, we want all of you to please come and listen.
It kind of sounds like almost where when we say, are we ever going to get flying in the original zones? And Yoshi P's like, well, should we delay like the expansion for it? And we're like, no. It's like, we're going to get this concert? Well, we can, but we might have to delay.
Well, yeah, I mean, keep in mind too, there was one of the questions we asked was, because we talked to him at PAX back in 2015, and this came up, would you like to see orchestra versions? He asked me, do you want to see more orchestra concerts, or do you want to see more like rock kind of stuff? And so we asked him how long he'd been planning it. he started planning this orchestra on a personal level as early as the beginning of ARR dev.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's a lot. That's
and
a lot.
so, as far as then
Think
working
about
with the team to get this put together, 2 years just for this one concert. Obviously, now that they've done one, they have the arrangements, right, which is going to be a big part of that. But they still need to find the venue, find a good location, and those kind of go hand in hand. But so yeah, I think we'll see one. I don't know when it will be. But until then, there's always Distant Worlds. They're always weaving a couple 14 pieces in there. So,
my dream on it would be that if they couple it with like a fan fest, so that way it's like hey, we're going to fan fest and there's a concert. Anyway, this is for me as somebody who doesn't get
interesting
because I have to travel. Like no matter what, I'm in North Texas.
Sure.
If they're going to do a concert, it's going to either be on the East Coast or the West Coast because I'm assuming that just the sheer effort that they have to do, it's going to take that a lot of time. So they're going to focus in on.
I would think they would do it in Cali. They had
They also have a base there. They have they have a lot of stuff there.
It was four years ago, I think, when they had the 11th anniversary for Final Fantasy 11. They did a concert, and that was actually out in Cali as well. I think Arnie Roth conducted that. I could be mistaken, but I feel like they brought him over from Distant Worlds to do that. I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I feel like with as far as
it'd be like I'm going to be assuming Vegas for the Fan Fest, and if it was like, oh, here it is, and then that's something that I think I could do. I don't think I could justify going to Vegas and then
I mean, the nice thing about Vegas, right, is I mean, any like hotel that you would do a Fan Fest at would also have like an actual theater, right? So they could do that.
I guess it just depends.
But then I guess right, the other drawback is, do you then do the primals on stage as well? Do you have it just be orchestra? Do you straight up duality like on stage and like get some orchestra in, get a couple piano bits in? Like how do you? That's got to be so much to manage.
I got the solution. Solution. Okay. Remember when Metallica did their S&M album where it was Symphony and Metallica? You just do the primals of Symphony and the primals where they're on stage with rocking with the backing orchestra.
I'm over that.
That's how you do.
I like that idea.
That's how you handle it.
I like that idea.
That would be an epic conclusion.
Yeah.
To the next Fan Fest. Anyway, just saying, this looks amazing. I love their music so much, and then you have, just to see them out there, and also the fact that Yoshi P's involved. I don't, consider Yoshi P musical, and I think that's just fun that they got him to do that. And so you see these pictures. It just, I think it goes to show the relationship that they all have as with this property and with this team. And honestly, there's just, and I know this is going to either cause some salt or debate, but there's just a part of me that goes, man, I wish they'd let Yoshi P direct the next mainline Final Fantasy title.
But see, the problem with that is if he does that, then he can't work on 14.
Exactly. I know there's like salt in regards to that. He needs to, hopefully, he's kind of said it off the cuff for the last couple of years. He needs to find his protege, his replacement, somebody who can, continue in that torch. Because I honestly I really believe in what he can do, and the fact is, what he's done something really great. I like to see what else he can do, and that's just my personal opinion.
I mean, that also having been said, Tanaka also was producer. Producer or director on the FF3 remake while also doing 11.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, maybe if Yoshika, wow, I was thinking like I don't know what happened there. If Yoshida gets somebody to take up the director role, and he's just a producer, then maybe he can dabble on other projects. But for right now, like I'd rather he just stay on 14. I think that's probably the smartest move.
The game needs a new director, not because he's done a bad job.
Well, and he's also said too that he doesn't have some like grand idea for like a new game, but if the company like wanted him to make something, like obviously he would do it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Also, we're gonna get into a little bit of news here. Yesterday actually, we have started to feature articles on the front page of the wiki. We have right now we have featured mount and minion that we're going to rotate around each month. We also have what we're going to just call lore bombs. We have somebody who's been doing a lot of lore contributions over to the wiki. So shout out to Rami for all the edits that they've been adding. Our first lore bomb is on Alamigo. There's a lot of information on there. If you ever wanted to read up on Alamigo, it's on the front page of the wiki. It's also up in the featured carousel, so make sure to check that out. The Dragon Quest event is back. That's going till December 14th. So if you have not gotten your Puff on yet, get your slime hat.
I love the minion. It's one of my favorite minions.
The little brick.
Yeah, the little brick minion.
Brick guy.
And it's to celebrate the expansion for not Final Fantasy, for Dragon Quest X, which we don't have Dragon Quest X here in the United States. It's just like
see, I didn't even know that. I'm like, oh, they got an expansion. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Good for them.
Can it come to America? Can we get it in America? I don't know.
This is America. We don't know what Dragon Quest is here.
Oh man, I love Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 11 is coming stateside, and we're going to be getting it for PS4.
That's true.
And for Switch. They said it at 3DS, PS4, and Switch. So
yeah, the 3DS is kind of interesting just from a design perspective, where like the top is 3D and the bottom's like an 8-bit thing, but they're like the same map, and it's weird.
I wish that they would just beat it with that kind of the old throwback, having that, and then maybe the Switch being the way you could kind of pick or choose like which version you want.
Yeah,
to look at.
that'd be interesting. That would be interesting.
I'd probably just go Switch. Just go that way.
Oh yeah,
that's
the Switch is easily becoming my JRPG machine, because it's like, oh, I could get this on PS4 or my Switch, and I can play it here or pick it up and take it with me. Tough choice. But no, so if you've already done the Dragon Quest thing, though, it's done, right? So that's the only downside to this event.
It's not new.
It's not new.
Yeah.
But for anybody who has not had the opportunity, they can go do that now. And so the question is that I'm really happy they're doing this. They've got these events that we haven't seen in a while, and maybe we'll consider to see those littered out throughout the next year. When you think of Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, when you think
I think they're actually done.
Shantoto?
No, they're done, because and that actually leads into what our next bit is of news. There's a Mog Station update that they had. They're also doing Cyber Monday discount stuff until December 4th. So if you guys want anything from the Mog Station, now's a good time to look at that. Yep. One of the things they added, though, with this update was the Shantoto minion. The Shantoto minion's on there. The Lightning Returns items are on there.
Maybe.
They're not going to bring those events back now, because if people want that stuff, they want to be able to get the money for it. So I don't think we're going to see those in-game again.
That's disappointing.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. There's that. It adds to the incentive of why you should do it when it's live and be subscribed, etc. But
right.
Oh well.
I just wish that they made it easier, if you've done the events in the past, to just reacquire that furniture without having to buy it. It's like, I was here, let me buy a pumpkin chair for like $5,000 or something. Like, I don't want to have to spend $3 or something. That's stupid.
Yeah. Hey, Calamity Salvager, remember when I did this pumpkin thing?
Right? Or let us if we did the quest, let us rebuy the damn seasonal wallpapers.
Yeah.
In game. That's my biggest issue, is because those are consumables.
Yeah, they should.
Right.
Be.
It's
then
they're actually selling wallpaper and flooring now on the Mog House. Like, dude, no. That's so stupid. Like, let me buy it once, and then it's like an infinite use thing.
Always,
or something, because it's like, I'm not going to spend money for wallpaper and then be like, I actually think the masonwork stuff looks a little bit better on these walls, so we'll go ahead and just throw that money out the way. Like, come on.
I wonder how that has affected their bottom line since they introduced that back in Heaven's Word. Because the next evolution of it, though, and as much as people probably don't want it, the next evolution is for that store to be in game, to where you can access.
Chili in the chat, I bought the wallpaper with real monies. You're part of the problem, Chili. Thank you for that.
Thanks for funding the development.
Any cool wallpaper the designs they came up with now, they're like, well, Chili bought it, so maybe somebody else will too, and then and that's the end of that.
Thanks for funding the development of the game with your hard-earned money.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for helping fund the game, you jerk.
I'm gonna Bob Vila this old house with I'm gonna go to the Mog Station, Home Depot, and get
time to glamour up a plaid shirt and let's do this. Also, some of the stuff that they added to Starlight items from last year, all the Christmas stuff. There's a new Fat Chocobo clock. There's also a chocobo lamp that looks really close to the... I don't know if it's the same one. I didn't double check. But it looks like the furniture item that came with the chocobo plush.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Lise outfit now. You can get a Lise outfit. So if you're a female character, you can dress up like Lise.
Yeah, you get Lisa's abs when you put on the outfit.
I mean, I wish I could put on Lisa's outfit.
Get abs?
To get instant abs, man. It's not even spray on, it's just glamour on.
Glamour on some abs, man. Yeah.
It'd be great.
I could finally get rid of this glamored beer gut that I've had for so long.
You know,
Right?
you know they sell shirts that already glamour on abs, right?
Yeah, but I like Lisa's outfit.
Okay.
I wish... See, this is like... I know people have been asking for, like, you know, male and female versions of these costumes before. But, like, I really like Lisa's outfit. Not the dress part, like the casual, like the red jacket, vest thing. Like, I really like that outfit. And it makes...
Fusion cosplaying as Lisa at Next Man Fest?
No.
Like, part of the problem.
I don't do that.
That's the thing that I you know, because of those are the typical questions when they open it up for public, you know, Q&A. It's like, why are we wasting glamour questions? Like, oh, and then, you know, it's happened, and now it's happened so much. It's just like, oh, there's a public Q&A. I'm gonna wait.
Well, and then in that public Q&A, someone would be like, so can we get, like, the Lise costume for guys? And you'll just hear me, thank you! Like, finally, somebody asking the hard questions.
And I'll stand up in the back and be like, you're part of the problem, too.
You're part of the problem.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. Letter from the producer XL. That's 40. Has been announced for December 5th.
15th.
It's going to take place at 3 a.m. Pacific. So super early or super late, depending on where you are.
December 15th.
They're going to talk about patch 4.2. It's part 1 of their previews. They're going to take a peek at the various challenges coming in patch 4.2. I don't know what that means. We'll find out. And miscellaneous announcements.
Yeah, I bet they're going to talk a lot about glamour, but it's December the 15th. I tried to edit, but
Is it 15th? Oh, you...
I tried to edit. I even requested. I was like, can I get some edit access? There we go.
I'm like editing it now, like it matters. Like
It matters. Well, you know, whenever, like in 1,000 years, when these are archived as a part of the historical record of the downfall of humanity,
you go to the Smithsonian. It's like the causes of the Third Great War, and it's just like our Aetheryte Radio Google Doc notes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyway. So 4.2, they've already said that they've started the process in 4.1 to redo the glamour system, and that it's going to take a lot to show off. So the changes are sweeping, and I don't know if it's going to happen with this live letter. I would venture to bet that they're going to at least talk about it a little bit.
See, my thought is, of course, that'll be in the first preview, because they're probably still hauling ass to finish Eureka. Well, they're like, we would love to show Eureka, but it's not quite there yet, even after all the delays.
We'll get a little taste. We'll get a little taste, and
taste.
Look forward to it in 4.2 Part 2.
Here's a shot of the map.
Yeah.
And we're just going to say, please look
something-
forward to it.
Some pictures, some stills, you know. But the reason I think that you guys are right, and that, you know, it's going to be, they're going to talk about content, but they want to, if you think of everything that's going to happen between the 15th of December and 4.2, people are going on vacation, people are going to forget things. It's best to save your big guns to really hype up the new year. So all of us, January comes out and it's like 14 drops the freaking gauntlet, and here's Eureka, here's Omega, here's this, and everybody's just losing their freaking minds, and they're just excited and ready, rather than like, hey, here's all this stuff and it's still so far away. So I think
I think we'll see.
They'll confirm. You know.
Yeah, I think we'll see Live Letter 41 probably mid to late January, then with a late January, early or Feb for 4.2.
I'm going to officially say that I believe the 4.2 is going to drop on February 6th. So we'll see if I'm anywhere near close.
Okay.
That's going to be. I'm dropping the gauntlet.
Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see.
The over under. So we'll see. We'll see if I get anywhere near close. And I just like it's not so much fun when you do it like when it's like, okay, here's the here's the 2 dates that it could be. As now it's like there's a wide range.
Yeah. let's see, 4.15 has dropped. With it, we get Season 6 for the Feast has begun, so if that's your jam, you already know that, and you're probably already working your way up the ranks. We've also got...
You can't fall down in the ranks by not playing if you're already at the first place. Congratulations.
You know, it's funny, I was looking at my PvP rankings the other day. I haven't played a single match of competitive Feast.
I'm looking forward
and you know what? I'm okay with that.
4.2, we know, is going to introduce the team aspect. So you're going to be able to register like a team for competitive Feast, and that's going to help address some of the issues. And that sounds to me exciting. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping the Feast Season 6 is important. No, it's actually the shortest season because it's only running until 4.2 as opposed to 4.25.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people that don't spend time with family for the holidays and you want to get up in the ranks, now's your time.
Yeah.
There you go.
I can't come over, Grandma. I gotta raise my ranks in the Feast.
Sorry, Grandma. I'm a couple matches away from platinum.
Yeah. I'll see you next year when there's not an expansion.
Yeah.
And then we have the Bard Perform action was added as well. I've already...
Such a good thing. This is such a good thing for the game.
It's been interesting to see, because when you actually unlock the feature in-game, you have to approve a little pop-up that's basically like, hey, we don't want to get sued, don't play any third-party tracks.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that happens.
And so obviously everyone's like, yeah, whatever. I've actually heard of videos starting to get taken down for this too. You know, somebody will play something in game, and Square Enix will flag it. Is what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it personally yet, but that's what I've been hearing. Which it's one of those things, right? They're like, oh, they're just covering their ass, like it's fine, that's what everybody's thinking.
No.
Maybe not. I don't. A lot of it is it's the JP law side of it. It's not it's
JP copyright law is strict.
Yeah,
it is much stricter than it is here in North America. So my thought process on it though is that they're covering themselves, which is good. I think it's a really good feature. It's important that they added it from just a role play. It doesn't add to the content of the game, but it adds just to the experience of the community. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be interesting. What I'm hoping that we get out of it is unique compositions where bands who own rights can then, as almost a cross.
Well, and it's interesting because one of my issues right now is you can't macro the notes. However, if you are somebody who is musically inclined and you also have a MIDI keyboard, people have actually been hooking these keyboards up and setting up their hotbars so they can just play the keyboard as a controller.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like crazy.
I've actually got a USB keyboard, and so I'm gonna. I don't know. I'm not that musical, but
that's like if anybody out there is like musically inclined and like wanted to get into like Twitch streaming and like just do like song requests or something, just like today I'm just gonna just play some music in 14, just hang out.
Instruments. This update for the Bard action stuff is a beta because 4.2 it's like another huge jump in evolution. All that we keep hearing about 4.2, it makes me just I'm afraid because I think I'm building it up in my mind, but everything we hear about like huge overhauls to different systems, networking, that this requires a lot of networking because of the packets and the thing, making a specific change to that so that when you guys you could actually perform with other people and hear it at the same time as opposed to delay from from the fact of how the game's communicating. And this is just mind-boggling, just the sheer volume, because they even talked about, if you guys remember, to throw this back, not confirmed for 4.2, but they're going to allow us basically to have the Halo capture and record and see the fights and dungeons and content from different angles as a part of the screen capture thing. Are you kidding me? This is going to be incredible, not just for making your own content stories within the game itself, but just from analyzing and studying the game and doing like guides and replays to be able to like fly out the camera and be like, let's look at it from the boss's perspective. Yeah. Anyway, they're doing some stuff, guys. Like it doesn't necessarily always make sense and doesn't necessarily always make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, 4.2 in my mind. I think it's going to be pretty epic.
Guide Maker's gonna have a fun time because they can actually zoom out and then point toward like, hey, if you're the tank, you can position the boss here, exactly here, and then you can actually get better guides that way instead of like, because a lot of the guides are usually from like a standpoint of like a healer or a ranged DPS class. So you have a better view of the arena.
The fight.
Yeah, the fight.
Yeah.
But that won't matter. You can be whatever class you actually would like to play it as, and then actually still be able to zoom it out and record it and edit it the way you want. So
definitely.
Yeah.
All right, and then Rival Wings. Have you guys checked out Rival Wings yet? What do you think?
I love it.
Healers are freakingly OP though. Like, I mean, healers are broken, and that's a kind of a good thing as somebody who likes to heal in PvP. It's kind of feels like, what up, guys?
It's like it's their way to like secretly get people to play healers. They're like looking at the duty finder. They're like, "What should we make OP in Rival Wings so that people will stay on that job and queue up?"
And then it's compounded by stacks of soaring, because soaring overall helps your healing output. And so all of a sudden, like, you get those soaring stacks and you get that healer, and it's like, ooh. I think they did this, but outside of that fact, and we'll probably see an adjustment for that. I'm getting some static fusion. I don't know, whatever you just sit down.
No. I muted my mic for a second, but
okay, you're good now. Whatever, that was weird.
Right.
But the balance is that outside of that, I feel like it's the most balanced mode for PvP that they've ever created. The only downside is one map right now, and I hope that with what they've done is that we see a continuous stream of new maps that will help keep it from going stale. And those new maps need to still be under the same playlist, because you can't do what you did with Frontlines and have it in 3 different, kind of categories. No. Everybody's going to pick one, and what they need to do, in my mind, is that they literally need to have just a roulette for PvP, and it will put you into just make it like whatever content is.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they need to introduce Blitzball and have that be in that roulette.
Blitzball should be a PvP type thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you should, because right now it's people's like, I don't want to like really necessarily do Frontlines, but if it's a roulette and there's a variety of PvP types, and it's not just like Frontlines and Frontlines or Frontlines, it's a mix of things, I think that'd be nice.
Yeah. So if you look at these 3 types, essentially then the goal that I hope they have is to expand it with more maps. Because the modes, I think, are fine. I think Frontlines could literally look at, like, okay, here are the different game rules, and maybe week to week they change which mode it is, but you can play on different maps. Rival Wings needs to be the same way. I like the goal of 100 wins for the mount. It just in the 2 teams, it's fun.
Doable.
It's doable. Even if you're getting destroyed, you can find some kind of joy in it by just bringing up a mech and trying to wreck as many people. You're like, I'm not going to win, but I can at least take out you guys. There's a lot of things. Like my wife, she's playing it, and one of the things she really likes is that she's like, hey, I'll go mid. I'm going to pick us up some tanks, because that's how she feels like she's the most valuable. And it is, because like, oh, Julie picked us up these tanks. Let's go pick up some mechs, and then here we go. So it's a lot of fun, and also coordinating 4 people as a part of that smaller team unit, much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Chili pointed out in chat, and I don't see this a lot, but I do it, is that, standing in the middle underneath the center and collecting the stuff. He said collecting candy.
It's candy, cerulean.
It's cerulean, yeah. Like, I've seen the other, like, whatever team I'm the opposite of, like, not do it whatsoever, and I'm like, and they're just getting wrecked. I'm like, you just not planning to come down here?
Yeah, I've gone, and that'll be like my whole match. I'll just be running around down there, and there's like no one else down there.
Yeah.
And you're helping your team out so much. I'm like, that's how you're getting, like, mechs don't grow on trees. This is how you get it.
Yeah, I don't understand, like, why that play, like, everyone's like, oh, we gotta take middle. Well, there's 2 levels to the middle, like... Everyone's fighting on top, and there's like one guy down below that's just like walking around, just picking up ceruleum.
You can farm 100 CE like super fast. You have that, and there's also other ceruleum farms in the other caves. So a lot of people don't know that. Like it's.
I didn't know that.
Oh well, there you go. There's other farms, but
I didn't know there were other caves.
It's a beautiful map. This is by far, I think, one of their best designed maps. Obviously, you got the 3 lanes, but each lane has 2. Almost kind of like, especially the north lane, you got the 2 different heights, and that's where you'll find the other caves, by the way. I'm wishing, I guess, with the thing I find is lacking is that there isn't tied into seasons, and I think the concept they have the feat seasons. I think that I would love to see seasons applied to the whole daggum PvP thing.
Yeah, I think that would help participation. I think people would get more involved if you could do that, because especially like I don't know that you would necessarily need a separate reward.
No.
Right? Like between like the feast and whatever. I mean, it could be like a lesser amount of whatever reward, since it's you're one of like a million people in the match, instead of like a team, like a smaller team thing like feast. But yeah, I mean, like I would be more inclined to do like a ranked, rival wings or front lines or something more so than I would competitive feast.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the value in it though is also then you can see your overall participation season to season, whether you're improving. If you're having fun, that's what's important. But in itself, like there's a value there, and I think that based off again, these are all my thoughts come a lot from what Yoshi P has said he wants to bring into 14. He wants a competitive, he wants a tournament style, addition to the game. They see the value in it with a lot of the other MOBAs out there. 14 can have that element. It is that theme park after all, and I don't think they're ready for that prime time. I think we still have at least a solid year's worth of development in the PvP world of life. From a balance is fine, balance is always going to be changing, so I never stress about that. But just in maps, modes, they're working on the custom, but teams, the ease of use to get in, and the quickness of matches and things like that. So
yeah, I think it's also important too, as someone that is not really into esports. I'm not into sports like in general usually, but I think it's also important. A lot of companies now, especially Square Enix with the 14 PvP and with Dissidia, it's like they're pushing like esports for the sake of like pushing esports. I feel like, and it's like you need to get the game to a good point first, and then worry about the esports aspect, especially with 14, right? But I mean, to have them be like, oh yeah, Dissidia, and we're gonna do esports, and it's like not with that UI you aren't like it's.
Yeah, I mean,
much better. Go ahead, Flattus.
I was gonna say, well, as a person who esports,
yeah,
I will say like the biggest mistake a company can make is instantly put out a game, Blizzard, and say this is an esport. This thing's a sport now. I dislike that. Like I like the idea of letting it naturally become a sport amongst community. Right. And when the community is like, hey, we're doing this on a level where like it's getting noticed by Twitch and getting plays on YouTube and people are watching it, building strategy.
That's when you make the push.
That's when you make the push.
Yeah.
Because when your community is backing it, you don't say, hey, we need, like Blizzard can throw its weight around and say like, well, we need backers, and people are like, here's our money, whatever you need.
Blizzard has been such a weird kind of, because it's like every game they put out, right, they end up doing all these tournaments and stuff for, and now they have like the Overwatch League where it's like teams from all different cities, they have their own like team colors, and it's just like, dude,
$50K a year a player with guaranteed housing during season, and you get
it's nuts. It's nuts.
That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money for a company to put out.
Yeah, and I think preseason for that is starting soon. I think too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to follow, to see how that goes.
They say they want that, and so that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think 14's ready for that push, but the fact that they've said they're not saying this. They've never said this is an esport, but they said that that's where they want to go, and so that's the feedback that we get, and that's why I like this mode a lot. I would I've played a lot of matches. I'm probably about I guess 85 wins away, because I've got like 15 wins under my belt, so I'm making progress towards the mount. But there's just things that I want overall, and I think that's what we've also heard with 4.2 is there's bigger PvP changes, system-wide changes. Not like I think the battle system in PvP with Stormblood is fantastic.
It's better, yeah. The
fact that it's separate is such a good thing, because they're not going to break PvE because they do something in PvP. That's fantastic. That gives them a lot more flexibility.
That disconnect is really important. I mean, I can remember back in 11. PvP in 11 was weird, but it was always.
I remember watching some videos up on the wiki, and it was like,
yeah, okay. It was basically like a conquest type of thing where it was always like, you know, training, right? It was never like, oh, we're gonna kill you. It was like, let's do training. But for any time they would tweak an action for PvE, they would also then have to look at the same action and how it would affect PvP, because there wasn't a different skill set. It was, you have every single ability or spell in both things. And so it was always a mess for them, it seemed like, to try and kind of balance that out. So it's definitely better that they're keeping them separate now in 14 with Stormblood. It's definitely a lot cleaner, I think.
The one thing I think that we need, though, from a PvP perspective, and this will be my last thought on it, is that with this mode, you know, again, we need maps, but I want to see a world versus world where essentially they put the various servers on the data center together, and we're fighting to control, you know, various zones and resources and things like that. People have wanted open world PvP, and I don't see a way that they can transition this game to being that. Though I think I honestly want it, but if they had that to where you can queue in and almost like Conquest, almost like these things, but as a server, and then the winning server, the people who participate in this, the whole server gets some particular buff for end period of time. I think that's the one thing. So we have some really good, you know, competitive. I think that PvP farm edit and Conquest is the one. I
would love, whenever we do go into Garlemald, I would love to see a Conquest type system.
Yes.
Where you know, you have to, and I guess the other part of that too is, it's like, what do you get from it? You know, what kind of rewards do you get if you're there when it happens or afterwards? I think they could almost do something like, you know, have a lot of territories in a zone, or, you know, multiple Aetherytes or something. Yeah. And if you guys have that area, you unlock that Aetheryte for everybody or something. Like that could be something that they do. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I would love to see a Conquest type system. I think it would be really cool, especially in a game like 14. Not because it was kind of neat in 11. Like they would do outpost warps and stuff. So if you don't have it, you can't use it. But if you've unlocked it before or previously, then you might be able to use it. Something like that could be interesting. I think 14 could probably do a way better job of being involved in the progression of
as the server,
team conquests.
Need to have that thing that ties us all together. I don't feel like my contribution to doing anything in the open world benefits anybody else, whereas that's what is missing from 11. They don't need it as a one-to-one system, but as just something that, like, hey, Brian, you went and, you know, by doing this thing that you were doing anyway, you helped the server achieve this goal, and because of that goal, certain teleportation costs are reduced, or this or that. You know, there could be any number of things.
I mean, they could take whatever if they add any leaves in 5.0, attribute that to a conquest system. Oh, this outpost needs X amount of items, and it'll contribute to some type of score. Mm-hmm. And then once that fills, you have control of that zone for the week or month or whatever.
You and I
think that could be neat.
That would be so much. That'd be so interesting, because Yoshi P in a recent interview, and it's not in our outline, he talked about just trying to create interesting and repeatable ways to engage people in the open world, and that's in contrast to what we've heard him say about how nobody wants open world content. And the thing is that you make these big, beautiful zones, and once I finish the story, you're
not going back.
And they're just there sitting vacant, and it's such a tragedy. The Beastman Daily quests are the exception to that, but those have an endpoint.
It's still a quest line.
There literally has to be something, and they should. Those zones are so amazing. Even
if only there was some kind of like a system that incorporated like fighting classes and crafting classes and gathering classes that you could just put in the open world to get rewards for everything. If only they had some kind of a system like that they could do. It's Hamlet. If you for those that have no idea what I'm it's Hamlet from 1.0.
I mean,
I miss Hamlet. Hamlet was so cool.
They could do an open PvP zone. Like they really could do an open world PvP.
Oh yeah,
zone.
they could add a zone. Mm-hmm.
And make it something that is all right. So for whatever reason, the grand companies want to control it for whatever purpose, pride, whatever the reason.
For pride.
That makes the most sense lore-wise to me. No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if they were gonna do that, I feel like it would have to be Cartano.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if they were going to do an open zone PvP, the problem is we already have a PvP instance there for that purpose. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know what other ways they would be able to make it where it would make sense from the world perspective.
I think lore-wise, and this is just me going back to the world versus world, is that we're on these 14 shards, and they're, the lines are being blurred, and now, like we're battling for, this area that's this weird hybrid between this gateway between the different worlds, right? And and then we control it, and then our world benefits because it's then, I don't know, that could be that's a reach based off of, we don't know the full story behind the split, but I'm just saying, like, okay, well, who are you fighting?
As a person who's played like way too many MMOs and like has seen this done before, it's totally doable. It's just, since Final Fantasy 14 is very, very cut in, like, if it has to have a lore reason. Like there's not just like other
reason.
Like other games can kind of get away with it, and they're like, well, this thing's here for this reason. Like, have fun. They're like, okay. But Final Fantasy is like, no, we have land and land.
No, but really, is Hildebrand canon? Did he really summon Enkidu? We need to know.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, there's. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It's not like they've never fudged anything, right? I mean, looking at you, Eula Van Darnus. But it's they definitely do, I think, pay more attention to that than a lot of other games do, and so it's just it's not impossible. It's like Yoshida will be like, never say no. Oh no, maybe at some point we're not saying no. But I just right now I can't think of an easy way to implement just like an open world PvP thing, because first off, we're an alliance, we're all buddies. And we're at war with another force. So I feel like the best we would get is like a weird battlegroundy conquest system that's still PvE.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's probably as close as we would get to like an open zone PvP thing.
Capture these things. I don't know. I mean, if we go back to like Wrath of Lich King WoW days, like they did that with an open zone, but whoever conquered the area got access to a dungeon there. Now, if you really wanted people to go at it, and you can only access the dungeon through obtaining the PvP zone. Now, it wasn't like a week. You didn't hold the zone for a week. You held it for like 12 hours, so it always reset every day.
And it probably looped around a decent amount. That it usually wasn't.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't
terrible. It's not like if they do that, it'd be like, okay, great, so Maelstrom gets a dungeon, and then the flames and the adders, we can just sit here and twiddle our thumbs for all eternity or something, right?
Yeah, that was not
so. All right, so that is PvP speculation, and it's funny because we were kind of speculating on stuff we'd want to see in 5.0, which is our topic, 5.0 job predictions. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about already, but we thought it'd be an interesting thing to kind of get a little bit more in depth in. And so we've collected some of your thoughts from Discord, from Twitter, from our comment section on the blog, and we're gonna go knock these out here. And of course, the names are just impossible to read. Metelligo?
Go with it. Go with
it. From our Discord, first is talking about how classes are dead. So do you think we'll ever see a new class? I don't think we will.
5.0, the class system's done. It's out.
That's the other thing. Will we see classes abolished? And that's something I feel like they've slowly been gearing towards, but at the same time, I don't know if they know fully how they would get rid of them, and if that would potentially bring up. I know the ideas I've thought of for a little bit is some MMOs like WoW, they have branches.
Mm-hmm.
Would we ever see branches if they get rid of classes?
No.
And then you don't think so?
It's disappointing because I thought with the summit, like the Arcanist and Summoner Scholar, that we would see that if that was brought into the other classes, and that was where the class system gains strength. So let's say you were a gladiator and you could become a paladin or a barbarian, and it's like, okay, they share this base, and so that ends up giving you as a player a tank and a DPS or something like that. That's where I thought the game was going, but apparently that's not where the game has decided to go, and that I'm a little bit disappointed that fact. But look at everything we've seen since Heaven Word. These are jobs introduced without a base class. Then it was doubled down and confirmed, obviously, for Stormblood, the same thing. Then they went with cross roll. Thus, there's no reason to go level another. Like if you're good with one, there's no cross class, taking the ability from something else. And that kind of was also beat down, earlier on. And so everything just keeps moving towards the job, and then that's just the natural evolution of it. That you could still see that there is a distinct gap, not in the informed player base, but in the players coming in saying, "Hey, why? I'm a gladiator now. What's happening?" So it literally what we should say, because people keep also the other issue is that people were like, "Hey, I want to play Dark Knight." It's like, okay, you got to beat a Realm Reborn to do that. It's like, no, I think that we're going to see an overall 5.0 shift in that system. Now, the thing is that when we talk about the lore reasons and stuff like that, that is the challenge. If they've got to root this in more, there's a lot more than just saying, okay, you're a paladin now because you got quests and things like that. So there's a lot of rework that has to happen. Is that coupled with rework of the zones? We know that they could rework Ul'dah and even the cities to be one zone, just like Kugane is. And those aren't big areas in the, so we'll see when that happens. And then the question I have to you guys, lore, and this is real speculation on the story of 4.0, is, are we going to lose this time around? I think at some point we have to. If they want to eventually get to Zodiark requires calamities. Not that we have to go from 1.0 to 2.0 in this case, but at some point there needs to be another calamity from a lore perspective that makes a lot of these changes possible if they are going to root this deeply in the lore. And I think 5.0 is a perfect time to have that happen.
I mean, it's definitely not the worst time to have it happen. My thing is, though, I feel like they wouldn't do that just because of how Xenos played out with Stormblood. And we've talked about this before. That's like my biggest gripe with Stormblood, is that we finally have a guy that beats us. And then when he becomes even more powerful, that's when we're able to defeat him. It makes no sense to me at all. He's like, oh, now he's a giant dragon. Oh, got him.
The power of
done.
The echo, but that also then
dragons. Hold on.
About the power of the echo. And that tells us more about summoning, and that there's so much lore that we actually got in that I think essentially it empowers more people to do that. Like with the Empire. I mean, the Empire is still a threat, and they haven't really been. They've always just kind of been the big bad that is annoying. We fight them back and we win. They, I think, in response to losing Doma and Alamingo, their response in my mind, like if we start pushing towards them, is it's kind of like that. If they're backed into a corner, they can do some crazy stuff because they've been look at what the experiments they did on us, right? They're infusing people. Spoilers.
This is 4.0 spoilers. That's fine.
They're infusing people with the artificial echo, and that leads into questions about the echo itself. There's so much that but again, it all breaks down to me that I think that at some point when they talk about redesigning the zones from a flight perspective, it just makes sense to say, well, let's look at that as a global story piece. Imagine the Empire saying, but we're going to blow it up, and because of this event, now the zones are bigger. It's like,
or they want to blow it up, but then something happens and a primal just kicks their ass again for like the third time.
Yeah, that's true. They really are not good at fighting off primals.
No.
I'm hoping that we'll see a better primal threat as we go into 4.2.
That's the thing is, we still don't know what the primal chain is for 4.x.
And honestly, when you look at ARR and then you look at Heaven's Word, I hope that they bring the primals into the main story for Stormblood, because having them off on their own little thing, there were fun fights.
First off, it makes them optional.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're not then incorporated into the main storyline, which feels weird when so much of... And that was part of the problem with Alexander as well, is you have 2.x launch. Okay, the raid is Bahamut. Here's this crazy CG video. It totally weaves into the main story. Primal line, okay, we've got, the original primals, weave in through those with the story, and then they just keep weaving them into the story. With, I guess, the exception of Odin, right? If you wanted to... Because Odin was an optional thing, right? That wasn't part of MSQ.
Yeah, no,
Right.
But then you have Heaven's Word, and it's like, all right, you beat the main scenario. Congrats, you fought 2 primals. Also, there's some other primal stuff going on over here with the Empire. We won't really get into that much. Also, there's this giant aether-sucking robot. If you have time, that'd be great. Otherwise, we won't touch on it in the MSQ. And that doesn't feel good. There's too many. I understand that they need to kind of like compartmentalize stuff a little bit, but there needs to be more weaving of those into the MSQ.
Yeah.
I agree. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the funny thing is they use Sid a lot for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Like Sid, and then Sid doesn't I've never heard Sid mention oh well, we have all these other problems too. Maybe we can't really handle this. He never says that. It's like, sure, we'll do it. I'm like, where are you finding all the hours in the days, Kenny Loggins? Where are you going?
Right? It's like, oh, Omega. There's this Omega thing. All right, cool. I'll be right there. I just gotta grab an airship back from Robin Astor, and we'll figure this one out.
Yeah,
It's a little much.
I like Real Chili's point here. He says that remember the good guys winning too much caused the calamity to. That's what created the Warriors of Darkness to exist on the
That's
other
true.
shore.
At this point, all I want to see from the story is Elidibus using Gaius. Gaius's body. That's all I want. That's all I want out of the MSQ right now. We know it's somebody the Emperor knows. I think it's Gaius. I think Yoshida was almost forced to make it Gaius because everybody liked Gaius so much, and then they, supposedly killed him off at the end of 2.x. But then it's like, but Gaius, we didn't really see him die.
yeah.
So in summary, I think classes are done in 5.0.
Yeah,
I think
classes, right? Jobs. That's what we were talking about.
I think it's just gonna be jobs. I think it's simple. I think that's kind of the thing where it's like I can easily see, job system overhaul, and then it's a whole thing again. It's
I could also see them not get rid of classes, but just not adding new ones and just kind of leaving it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day, though, because that's what they've done. Classes has been dead since 3.0.
Yeah.
And so the question is that do they change that and kind of rethink that system, or do they just keep it? And
I think it'd be too much dev time at this point, right? Just there, just leave it. Whatever, new jobs don't need a class or something.
It's all depends on priority and whatnot. All right, so then they say something. Oh, go ahead, Flattus.
I was gonna say they already whittled it down to probably the bare minimum. Just get to 30 and then unlock your.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yep.
So, the cross classes.
Metalligo also brings up talking about how any role in 14 is required to DPS. It's always seen as even if you have a white mage, right, there's always some expectancy of damage being dealt from the healers in order to progress, and that's something that's always considered with balancing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So do you think that we'll ever see the game change in a way that doesn't put that damage expectancy on healers? I don't think so.
I can answer unless they change how raiding and dungeons are handled, like how combat is handled. No. Yeah, and that's coming from a person who's rated in other MMOs. I will tell you this right now, unless you want your bosses to be dead harder than they are right now, where tanks really have to concentrate on tanking and healers really just need to concentrate on healing, and DPS just do DPS. Mm-hmm. No. And I'm not going to say that the content is dumbed down. It's just a different form of content compared to other MMOs.
You also have to look at the party size in that vein.
Yeah.
You talk about 4 people. Okay, you have how much responsibility spread out. Now you make that 5 or 6, then all of a sudden you build yourself a room to say somebody needs to be doing support, because that's their job. If they don't do that, then these people are going to fail. You have to have it's all about bandwidth, and it's actually a problem of bandwidth than it is of dungeon design.
And that brings us into the next point too. Do you think we'll ever see a new role added in addition to tank, melee, and healer?
My co-host would love that. He would love support. He would love it.
Right? But it's one of those things. I thought it would be an interesting talking point. That's why I added it. But I think the answer is probably no, because if they do that, then they have to figure out how do you rebalance those 4-person duties, and that right there is just a monumental task.
I think they should go away. I think four-man content needs to be dropped in favor of 5.
In favor of 5. Well, then you have longer queue times.
No, you don't. Now, if you drop it in with 5 with the new roll, then yes, then you're only pushing that you're kicking the can down the thing. But with three rolls we have now, and the 4 positions, that's why we have a backup of queues. Now, you could all vary things, but if you open that up to 3 DPS, 1 healer, 1 tank, then you're able to get in a greater amount of people into the different content. But my thing isn't 5-man. I think it should just be 8-man. I don't know why we have 4-man dungeons. They're not hard. They're a waste of time. Like, I love this game, but every time, like, if they go in and we go into the next, the next fan fest, and they're saying, and the thing on the slide is challenging new dungeons, where 4-man content is not the content that is challenging. They don't have anything like that. So why do we keep making content like that? Literally, like, go look at the Alliance Roulette. That is some of the most fun content right now, and it's got some of the shortest queue times, especially for a DPS. And I'm not a DPS. I usually tank or heal.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I'm going to go on and do something DPS, it's the Alliance, and it's interesting, and that's 24-man. Imagine 8-man dungeons being brought in without thousands of hours of cutscenes. And that's where you can also balance, and you can add in complexity, and you can add in a new role. Is that because we already have the system in place. So 5, I make the joke more about 5-man because it's like just the sheer numbers. When you look at 20% are playing tanks and healers, 60%, actually it's more than 60% are playing DPS. This isn't a fact of, you're never going to change that. That's a fact of humanity, So we've created a bottleneck. Anyway, /rant.
My co-host is from EverQuest 2, EverQuest 1 days, and I'm I'm from Vanilla WoW days, and there wasn't really a support class in Vanilla WoW, but I did go back and play like EverQuest 2 and EverQuest 1. But there are support roles. Like bards were a thing. Bards in that game were actually like people who played loots and gave you buffs and debuffs to boss. Yeah. You had that was an essential part of raiding, essential part of going into a dungeon was having a support role with you so that you could maximize damage and minimize damage coming out from enemies.
Absolutely.
So if you want that to be your life, then
coming from an 11 background, we had bards, we had red mages for haste. That was all they did. They would just haste and refresh.
Haste machine.
And the dancer was kind of a weird mix where it could support, but then also enfeeble, and then also damage, and it was, yeah.
So that brings up the question: is that would we ever want to see the sub-job system brought into 14 now that the class system?
Now, if you're talking sub-job, I think we have that already with the role actions.
Really,
in a sense,
you're sub-jobbing forced to then into the tank, into your role, as opposed to being able to.
Oh, I see.
Like sub-job a different job outside the role to take advantage of a handful of their abilities or traits. It's way more complex. Like, honestly, that's where literally the only way I would ever see something like that happening lore-wise is, somebody decided to really drop meteor on the planet. It blew up, and now we have.
Or somebody's just like, why can't we just have 2 job crystals? Right? Like I have them all in this bag. Why can't I just 2
of them at the same time?
I don't understand why. Yeah.
I'm not left-handed, so my left-hand side is a little bit weaker.
I just want to be able to dragon fire dive on a scholar. Why is this not a thing that I'm able to do? I don't understand.
The ring is. Go ahead, Flattus. Sorry.
A black mage and a red mage fusion dance and become a blue mage, and they're just.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not bringing that up because I think that has any kind of validity in them actually doing it. I'm just coming from a fan of the job system in itself and looking at what the job system means in other games. Is it not only to find your role, but you are allowed some flexibility. And I'm not asking for the cross-class system to come back. But what I am interested in is a way that you can then have interesting builds. And the downside is that because this is an MMO, no matter what, there's going to end up being a right answer. And that basically removes the choice from everybody. And so that's why I don't want to see them do it. But the want of it is there. The want of that ties back into When we're talking about the class system and the branching paths. The want is there. I don't see them unfortunately doing it, but I would love to see more 8-man content. I'd love to see a support role, but everything would have to be 8-man content. Otherwise, you're going to see a bottleneck only tightened in my mind.
Yeah. So after all that, with Stormblood, now that we've kind of done like all the background, right, of jobs and stuff, after Stormblood, we had Samurai, we had Red Mage, we had 2 DPS classes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need more DPS classes? Do we need a tank and a healer? Do we need one of each? What do you guys think for 5.0?
I think in a minimum we need another ranged melee. So you look at the Bard and Machinist; they're the only role that only has 2, and so I would put a job into that position. If I was being honest. Now, give me a tank, give me a healer, sure, but when we look at what the volume of the jobs that we have, I would look at it more as what are we missing, and I would say if we're missing a tank, evasion tank. That's where my mind goes. But I look at maybe a whip class, maybe as the range, maybe a Beastmaster, or something with a pet and that can be ranged, that can fit into that range DPS mode. But anyway, I'm interested in y'all's thoughts.
I'm a DPS, right? I have like a scholar. I like rarely play. I do it for like journal, like X Primals or something, if somebody needed a scholar, right? Because you can just roll through that real easy. I don't want to see 2 DPS again, because as a main DPS, the queue times are horrible, written early on in the expansion, and they're still not great. I feel like for dungeons,
they're awful.
And so I would like to see at minimum a healer and tank, preferably one of each role.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way everybody gets something new.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would like to see. Of course, then the problem is, depending on which way you go with that, and compared to what jobs you want, what job would fill what role, right? Like obviously Dancer and Blue Mage is something that people are talking a lot about. Mm-hmm. Would Dancer be a healer? Would Dancer be a DPS but with some kind of support-ish stuff like a Bard? Would a Blue Mage be a DPS? Would a Blue Mage be a tank?
Blue Mage tank. Yes.
I've seen, it's not impossible. I've seen ranged tanks before. Wildstar had their engineer class could branch off and be a ranged tank, which was a really cool concept and worked really well. One of the best tanks. So it's entirely possible to do. So
the Blue Mage could easily fit into that either rage tank or tank in and of itself from the lore of learning abilities. So they want to take the damage, but think of it like what we don't have, and we don't have a shapeshifter. We don't have that druid-esque job or class in which that then all of a sudden it's not going to be just like Red Mage isn't a classic Final Fantasy version of it. Blue Mage isn't going to be a classic Final Fantasy version of Blue Mage, but what it could be is that it uses stances like monsters. Think of like a bear stance, and all of a sudden like a warrior. It's like, hey, I'm going to either be really tanky or I'm going to be real big. But that's what we actually don't have as a tank besides the evasion, as a tank that can kind of change what kind of tank it is depending on what other tanks it's paired with, like the Astrologian. The Astrologian can be like, oh, there's a white mage here, I'm going to go shields. Oh, there's a scholar here, I'm going to go healing over time. We don't have that actually with the tank, where it's like you get in, you're like, oh, there's 2 paladins here. All right. Or like, oh, there's a paladin here. Maybe I'll play a warrior or dark knight, but I'm still my Blue Mage tank. And so then I have a little bit more versatility. I don't know. That's just some thoughts, but I break it all into they learn animal stances. They learn the monster essence.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that was the biggest question always when speculating on Blue Mage was, how does it fit into the lore?
Yeah.
Because, as somebody that dabbled on Blue Mage in 11, like you actually would go and farm mobs to learn spells, and you would equip spells, and it was almost like junctioning in 8, where certain spells would give you certain stat boosts, and there's no way that system would work in 14. And so what they would have to do is it would be part of the job quest. You'd go out, you'd fight a mob in this job quest, you'd learn this ability, and it would all be based there. So I think in terms of that, I think they could do it. And then for a lot of these jobs, it's not even a matter of if it's the classic job or whatever. It's just you can still have it be that classic job, but you have to pick what role it's going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, yes, I guess it could technically differ from the classic job, but it also at the same time, like, there weren't those hard set roles necessarily in earlier Final Fantasy games. Like, oh, you have a red mage. Well, he's my healer because that's what I picked, you know? Whereas in 14, it has to fill a role. We have all these other healers, so now it's a DPS.
Maybe it'd be interesting to see, not that I see this happening anytime soon, but just in that vein, what if you could pick your role based off of, and it was then set, like you couldn't change your role in a dungeon, but you queue up as a blue mage tank, or you queue up as a blue mage healer, or a blue, and so that all of you with your job open up multiple roles, and then there are various chains. Now I don't
see that makes me think a little bit of what I brought up earlier with the idea of like branching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Instead of having a branch class, have a job a branch in and of itself, so you can change. Now, like again, you would be locked in, and that's just where I could see it going. I mean, obviously, some jobs would just make sense. White mage makes sense. So
5.0, we just get one job. It's blue mage, but it could be a tank, a healer, or a melee.
Imagine that would be perfect. You want to play?
Oh,
well, then why not? Why not? I mean,
just switch out the weapon.
You either change your weapon, or that there's something about the skills you equip, so that you say, okay, when I equip my tank, then it's like I'm pre-built as this. And then from a learning perspective, because a part of the blue is taking the damage and learning the enemy that's fighting you and using their strengths against themselves, maybe that as like you almost have a bar that fills up as you're fighting, that makes you more I guess adapt to reducing their damage. So it's like, okay, I'm being hit by this guy, and then the more he hits me, the less effective he is, and then I can use a big move to expend that energy to hurt him, but then I'm more vulnerable. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah.
Here. Anyway, Yoshi P, if you need somebody, I got ideas. my resume is attached to the bottom of this podcast. Anyway, sorry guys.
We've got a couple people on the blog comments. Banwiz and Astral Ba both want to see Dancer. They think it'd be a fast-moving class, kind of like Ninja, and then an off healer. And I think if they were to do Dancer, I think that's the way that it would go. It would either be because of the role system, it would either be a full-blown healer, or it would be that DPS with it can kind of buff or debuff or heal a little bit, but not really particularly great at any of them because it is a DPS.
It'll be your dancer. It'll be your healer. Because you gotta shake your hips, and the hips don't lie, and then everybody will feel good about themselves.
There you go.
Yeah. I would like to see them do a dedicated healer as a dancer. It'd be your up close healer, and then it kind of a blend of MP and TP. I don't know. I think that means
which is funny because we had that comment earlier about how all these healers have to DPS, and now it's like, here's a frontline healer for you. Enjoy. Like,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Imagine an 8-man dungeon though, like you were saying, and all of a sudden you have the bards doing perform, and all of a sudden the dancer just twirling around in the battlefield.
All these mobs are like, I don't understand what's going on. Do I aggro? Do I not aggro? What? Do I tip? What is going on? I don't.
Exactly. Like, all right, this is a great show, guys. The boss ends up like, your performance was superb.
Just go on through. Actually, take that treasure. We don't even want it.
There's an Easter egg in some dungeon somewhere where you get to the boss and you just start performing. He'll just be like, you know what? I don't need to fight you. I appreciate you as an artist, and therefore I will allow you to pass. Please partake in my treasure chest
because he's paying for your work as an artist,
right? Gosh.
Anyway, dancer, especially with bard perform, I would love to see it like that. And the thing is that Yoshi P said that he's gonna they have jobs, and they plan to add jobs with every expansion. And so it's that the question is how many jobs do we need? Do we need 2 going?
That's
forward?
a fair point. I think I don't think it's a question of how many jobs do we need. I think it's a question of what roles need to get a little boost in duty roulette.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think I'm leaning towards tank and healer. But then as a DPS, I'm like, I would like a new thing to play. So I would like to see one of each.
I honestly think this is kind of one of the things where it's easy for us to look at jobs and say this is what we need, that we need this role. But the problem is, I think the real tragedy and that causes the problem is that XP is completely pointless at level 70.
Yeah.
There is no reason. Why do I not go and run these roulettes as a tank? Because there's no value in it from a rewards perspective.
Because you get tomes.
I get tomes anyway.
But you get tomes.
No, I'm just saying that. Not that I'm advocating for a merit. I haven't thought this idea all the way through.
Oh, Chili in the chat going merit points. Oh no.
But maybe it doesn't even have to have. The thing is that people associate it with battle. But what if you had merit points that allowed you to reduce your sprint cooldown? What if you had merit points that reduced your teleportation costs across the board? What if you had merit points that applied a permanent XP buff that you could, things that just quality of life stuff that if you grinded out the XP. Almost like, why not give us, not that I like the Bright Ingram system from Destiny 2, but why not have a Bright Ingram system in which that when you hit a level, that there's some kind of loot box or something that you have access to that is filled with fun treasures and
I think it would be interesting to see some type of end game progression system that is not
gear based,
equipment based. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
It's like we already have relics, now we're going to have like gear we can upgrade. That's great, but what about just me?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, I can't even begin to speculate what in the world that could be. But it would be interesting for something like that to exist.
Right, yeah, just right now that like as those roles, I'm de-incentivized to play my tank. I love playing tanks and healers in Final Fantasy 14. I'm de-incentivized to do so because of the way the current system is. And yeah, you can add a crack cluster, but that again has a deadline. And so as I leveled tanks, I'm flush with crack clusters as I leveled up my tanks. I have Matera for days. Okay, well, why do I want to go and run that?
I think what they could maybe do, and it's one of those things where if they were to add, and I'm going to go back to, as much as I like facepalm the merit point idea, right? Because I come from the 11 background, that's what I'm most familiar with, and I think that maybe could work where, okay, especially now, right? You're at 70. How long does it take to fill up an XP bar, right?
A while.
But then afterwards, or after a few of those, you can be like, I'm going to add one Vite to my character across the board, all jobs, whatever. And I feel like that wouldn't be that unbalanced, right? Because we have materia right now, and so everybody's stockpiling the direct hit, the critical hit. But one thing that we can't really add a lot of is those main stats. And so, that was something you could do in 11. You could add, strength with merit points if you wanted to. So, I think it's one of those things where it wouldn't kill the balance of the game, right? If it's like, oh, that tank has an extra 5 vitality, but it would at least give you something to kind of spend XP on or something extra to work towards. I think that could be nice.
Mind if I throw in like a bad idea on top of that? Because I like.
You might as well.
I like your idea a lot. Actually, I think that's brilliant. I think that what if, on top of that, death cut into that experience grind, or you could lose merit levels, but you couldn't go down in levels. So like your level cap 70, but as a part of that system, you could level it up and you could de-level it. Thus making a terrifying thing. I said
no. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose all that work because I died from somebody doing a big pull. I don't want to. This is bringing back horrible memories.
Start getting PTSD.
We're just out in some new open world zone, and you just see somebody and shout "Train to zone," and you just go, "No, not again."
There's a lot more to brings to the table, and I'm at the point right now that it's like I really want to see these other systems that have just kind of fallen by the wayside level up, and that's part of being in the open world. But part of that same thing, the same thing of why XP is pointless is look at Fates. They're de-incentivized because they only give XP rewards. Like,
well, yes and no, right? Because you get seals.
Oh, what's seals?
You get seals, and some of the Fates also drop unique rewards. So it's I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying some of them do actually have more than just XP, right?
Oh,
But the
yeah.
problem is, once you do one, you don't need to do it ever
I
again.
was gonna say you don't need to do it ever
And
again.
there's way better ways to get seals.
They need to take what they did with the diadem and add that into the overworld content overall, and they need to have different levels of fates that are.
Well, or, you know what they do? They take. I mean, obviously, like they're not going to do it with 4.0, but 5.0 comes along, integrate fates into the conquest system.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to. I want more reasons to play, and be incentivized. And I think the issue, we're talking about jobs here, and then you realize it's not really about jobs; it's about incentives. Because you can go, they can come in the next expansion with 2 new tanks and 2 new healers, and you're still going to run into the same daggum problem. Maybe not on day 1, but I guarantee you at day 30 or day 100. The thing is that at this point, back in August or whatever, I had all my tanks and healers leveled. So at that point, I am a part of the problem because I'm no longer queuing as those roles. Anyway.
Yeah.
Giving me another tank would extend that, but at some point, you're not giving me a reason to go and continue to play that content on those jobs.
I'm also in the same party for 5.0. I'm like, I don't think we need to increase level cap. I do think we need to figure out how to make whatever gear and stuff go forward and story go forward without us needing
I think gear right now is probably the biggest issue right now, because it's like, okay, you gear up after a few weeks in a patch. You don't need to do anything else. I mean, obviously, right, you could gear up another class if you're playing more than one, but it's like there's so little incentive to go back and do anything. I mean, and even then, right, I guess, like, right, like that's the beauty with the merit point system is like, even then, it's like you're not going to be like, oh man, I could like grind like a bunch of dungeons and get +1 Vite. Like it's not going to sell a lot of people, but at the same time, it's still something for some people to work towards, right? It's that weird kind of like middle ground where like you'll get some people, but not everybody with it.
I got that 1 Vite.
Yeah, well, I got +1 Vite. Oh well.
Progression outside of just pure gear, because that's how we have a progression system of XP that goes from that lasts the story of the expansion, and then you have a progression system of gear.
I hate the gear progression in this game, especially because I played a lot of 11 before the 99 level cap, and so you get to a point where you're working for months, years to get certain pieces of gear because the level cap hasn't changed, and you're getting that one perfect piece. But in 14, it's like, okay, every 3 months your gear becomes obsolete, and that sucks.
I mean, then
it becomes glamour. But yeah, sorry, Flattus.
Yeah. No, and you could easily. I'm not saying like look at Warcraft, because I'll never. I mean, even though I played that game for like 13 years, and I at one point I was like realizing I was just throwing money into the big fire hole, and but you start to look at like, you need to start looking at like, all right, cool, they did a weapon where that was your, after you hit level cap, that was your continual, how do I keep growing my character? This weapon is my thing. I keep growing. It gets more powerful, and it's something that takes with me, and there's different skins for it. So it's not that. Yeah, and that's how they like figured out a progression system past whatever level cap was. It's something bringing into the next expansion. It may not be weapons, but something else is going to have that.
Honestly, I think that you saying that makes me just that's what I want more than merits now in that regards, and that ties into what I'm hopelessly addicted to. Comrades 15, the that broken loading simulator, but you level up your weapons, and that ends up informing it, and it's like, oh man, that would be a reason for me to go and play a warrior if it's my now I'm leveling up my axe, and obviously then from a balance perspective, you can it's easier to set caps on that. That this level, if you a level cap on any particular weapon is this, then you could almost introduce different types of weapons and things like that you could choose to level or whatever. But then you have that player.
I was gonna say, I didn't even mean going down like a crazy Destiny 2 route where it's like you could still have dungeons that drop weapons and stuff, but let's say you can absorb those weapons into your main weapon like you want to grow, so it gets that better and
Fusion,
stronger.
absolutely.
Infuse
Yeah.
into it, and then make it like a long game. Like, all right, well, here's this new anima weapon or whatever it's going to be in 5.0, but it's the long game. From day one, you have this weapon or you have this gear, but you can infuse it, grow it, but you can still have other gear options. So you can still glamour, and all this other stuff is still in the game that you can do it. So, and you can swap it out and infuse that instead. So it's not something where it's like you're stuck and it's static. You can swap it over, and then that way you have this design or glamour stuff onto it.
Yeah,
And then,
really, I think the biggest problem right now with 14 is that it hits the reset button too often.
Yeah.
And so, for everybody. And it's not just like, oh, you're a casual, so you don't have... No, like, oh, new raid tier, great. All that stuff you spent all that time trying to learn, Neo, X, obsolete now. Enjoy. And it's just...
it stings.
Not a fan.
It does. I mean, it's like, and not that Destiny doesn't have its own problems that we talked about before.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But even still, like outside of all that, like I love those ideas. I think the simple idea that I think they could easily implement is that as you get a level's worth of experience, you get a random box of joy, or that it's like just something fun that you get rewarded and you can open, and it's something to work your way towards. It could be all various things, and and again, it does. I think just that concept in and of itself would add value to XP after the fact. And that brings back to the point, like yeah, I would like Gahus in here, like maybe a tank. So, I think the thing is everybody's thinking tank and healer. I mean, at the end of the day, 5.0, they need to announce at least one, because no matter what, you're going to always run into the narrative that people have now is that, oh, we need a tank or healer to do DPS. I think if they do that and people are like, why DPS queues still suck? Oh, maybe it's not the fact that they introduced a new tank and healer. People who play tanks and healers will love and will always play tanks and healers. You might be able to get somebody who's on the fence, but for the most part, Fusion, you're going to play a Dragoon or a DPS,
I mean, I don't know. I was pretty salty about Dragoon for a couple months after 4.x. But I think, and yeah, that was a point I was going to bring up too, is that before Stormblood, that was a question that people were asking Yoshida, is like, but what about the queues? And he's like, people that play tanks are going to play tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but people also want to try out the new stuff.
Yeah.
And if there's not a new tank, that's the problem. And then the other problem you have with that when it's 2 DPS is that, okay, it's new, I'll try that. Oh, I like this more, I'm going to not be a tank anymore. Versus there's nothing new for tanks or healers. And that's, I think, that was the biggest problem, is especially when you have Samurai and a Red Mage. Those are two great jobs, I mean, in terms of 14, but also just classic Final Fantasy. And somebody kind of dips their toes into the Red Mage pool, they ain't coming back to whatever they were playing before. It's just...
It's so good. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's hard to convince my co-host, and he's like, man, Red Mage is so fun. I'm like, you can't switch out of White Mage. I'm your Dark Knight, but I need a pocket healer. We can't do this. Like, that's your side job when I'm not around, but you stick White Mage.
I think you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head with that thought, is that it does tempt more people away from that, and that's why I'm dying to see what the official census is. The last census was 19% tank, 19% healer, 62% DPS. And then when you look at a 4-man group that does not mathematically make sense, and that makes you understand why the queue times are so long, opening up another slot could actually be a de-incentive for tanks and healers, because then they could be like, oh, the queue times are going to be better, I want to play a DPS and not a tank or a healer. So you could de-incentivize people that way in that regard. But I think at the end of the day, you're right. I think we'll have to see a tank, at least one job, either a tank or a healer. 2 jobs at 1 tank, 1 healer would be preferred. They need to look at the roles themselves, and I think almost to the point where you have a range tank, that would be neat. Like something that isn't exactly what we have right now. And I love 14, but at this point, I'm really looking forward to 4.2, because it all feels a little bit samey. When you think from 5.5 to 4.1, it's all kind of in that same wheelhouse, and we've been told new and change is coming. I think I'm at the point, especially this long into the game, that I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that thing that really addresses these overall things. We have these great systems, let's bring them all together and make it fluid. Like literally, you think about it, last year this time we got Wanderer's Tales. Wanderer's Tales was a revolution.
It was great.
Yeah, it made everything relevant again. It incentivized everything. I'm looking forward to the next Wanderer's Tales the Stormblood edition, what that is to
Yeah.
to reinvigorate content and for me to go and play that content.
Of course, on the note of Wondrous Tales now, since we do have the newer journals now with some of the newer content, are you guys still doing them like you were when it first came out? I haven't. I think I've done maybe one or two since Stormblood launched.
If I'm playing every day, absolutely. But the thing is that I log in, I'm leveling up. I'm gonna, as a part of my channel, I do the controller guides, right? So I've finished. I just put out my Red Mage 70 today. I'm working on Black Mage. People voted for Machinist next, and then I'm shifting I've done all the tanks and healers. I'm shifting into DPS. That's what I'm doing on the leveling perspective. But I'm doing that now because, especially, it is the time where people naturally want to take breaks. So I try to hit 3 or 4 days a week, playing the game. But I can't do a Wondrous Tales with that. Now, when 4.2 drops, you better believe I'm getting that book all the time because I'm going to be running all the content, really working on progression because we're going to see the level cap increase. There's going to be that which that really keeps me in. I love Wondrous Tales. I think it's one of the best things they introduced. I think that when you look at Fates, Leaves, XP, Diadem, Eureka, there's all these synergies that the systems I really want them. I want to see as the game grows into 2018.
I think my thing is that I love Wondrous Tales. I just don't understand why she didn't move. Like everyone else moved, like that keeps going. Like you can go.
I don't understand why the 14-year-old Mikote didn't move across the planet.
But she travels. What's her name's care? Like she travels with her. Let's
there's still people in Mordona. Like you don't, we don't have.
Well, it's like Rowena didn't move. Rowena's still in.
Rowena's in Mordona, Idleshire, and now in.
She's not actually in the Reach though.
She's not. Oh, that's right. She's not.
It's her business. She's actually in Idleshire now.
Like permanently in Idleshire? Like she's not. But she just has people over at Ralgo's Reach.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if she'll move.
I don't think she needs to.
So, okay. So that was all that.
Horse is thoroughly.
Right. I realized I just forgot to add.
Go ahead. Chili said and then said probably. Don't drop it like a fact and then say probably.
Here is a fact. I don't know. I could be lying. I don't know.
Where did I put that? I realized I forgot to preload the next topic image. I am like on the ball today.
We had one more thing though.
Did we?
Well, that was Yahoo. I didn't mention Yahoo's thing, but if you want to.
Oh, that's right. You started that. Yeah. So. Do we want to see? I mean, obviously, all this talk about new jobs. People want to see dancers. People want to see blue mages. Viking, I've seen brought up a couple times. Would people rather see a classic Final Fantasy job, or would they rather see a job inspired by a classic job, but with a bigger FF14 twist? Maybe like blue mage being a blue mage, but actually, harnessing that kind of artificial echo stuff.
I'm still in the boat of classic job with a 14 twist. In that regards, the. Astrologian, I don't know why. I still don't know why they called machinist and not engineer, because engineer I think fits better into the Final Fantasy vernacular. Yeah. But maybe that had to do with they didn't want.
I could see it kind of going like either way, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
And anyway, it's just like all right, it's somewhat what I would expect that to be, but I like Astrologian in my mind is a kind of the more new to the 14 world. It's it's to the Final Fantasy world, so we did get. Word. Honestly, as much as I want a tank or a healer, though, I would kill for a dedicated time mage. I know Astrologian is kind of a time mage, but a time mage, yes, make it happen. Maybe
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I've wanted that in 11. So that's the job that I'm like. That is the one online job that I am just waiting.
Yeah, Chili brings up a good point too. We know geomancers do exist. 14 now, so that could very well be setting it up.
That's
for
true.
all we know.
And they do that. They like to tease that kind of stuff.
I will say that I obviously I'm like Raffledirg, right? That's like my thing. But my main in 11 actually turned into Dancer. I really like Dancer. It could do a lot of things. And so of course, again, right, going back, the issue in 14 then is the role. Is it a healer? Is it my thing came. Nice, it did show up. My
Nice.
chair's here.
Your chair's here.
So, well, so for people that don't know, Duty Commence has been giving away those Stormblood DX Racer chairs, and I happened to win one.
Woohoo!
Yay, RNG. Neat. I'm like, all right, let's finish and go build it now. But I think I've always been interested in seeing what a 14 version of Dancer could be. And that Stormblood trailer, man, from Vegas, where it starts off, we don't know anything about Stormblood, and it starts off, and you see Lise dancing around, right? We don't know who it is. All I know is that there's somebody wearing dancery clothes dancing around, and I was just like, yes! And then they're like, oh, it's a monk. And I was just like, oh, man, like, we were so close. We almost had it. Almost had it.
So close.
And then, of course, there's, the constant teasing of Blue Mage. So whether that's just Koji being Koji or it's an actual hint, who knows? I mean, Yoshida's always wanted to please the player base, right? And if everyone's like, Blue Mage, he'll be like, we should probably try and find a way to add Blue Mage, So I don't know. I feel like, and then some other people, too, they're like, we need Chemist as a healer. And it's like, okay. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about that as well. So, I mean, who knows, right, where we're going to end up getting at this point.
Who knows?
I want to see a gambler.
Gambler?
With the Lady Luck system in place, that'd be great. Like, you go meet them, like, you get to pick up the job quest over at the Gold Saucer, and, like, they get thrown out for cheating.
Oh, gosh.
Like, and you meet them, and they're actually... Wait, wouldn't it be crazy? Like, everything's based off Lady Luck and stuff like that.
And then you get a trait that just earns you 5% more MGP.
Yeah.
Because reasons.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
Like, roll dice and cards and stuff like
I love it. I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's so fun. It almost blending a little Corsair from 11, but you got
Yeah. Well, I mean, and look, there's your other ranged DPS, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the, talking about possible settings. I think a lot of people are thinking we're gonna go right into into Garlemald now, but we also have Thavnir down there at the bottom of the map as well. Which obviously is kind of like an islandish thing. They could totally turn, some kind of like a gun mage or something.
My dream that I have for this game is that we actually get to go to Thavnir before the expansion, meaning that as a part of the progression of the story, they actually open up a new zone.
We actually, that was one of our questions to Yoshida back. Gosh, when did we ask that? Paxies?
Imagine how insane that would be.
But yeah, our question was something, and I'm probably going to misquote this, but it was something along the lines of, like, Thavnir is on the map now. Are we going to Thavnir? And he said something like, not necessarily at launch.
Right.
Hinting maybe later. My thought is maybe if they add Blitzball. Blitzball is in Thavnir.
I just hope it's not an instant zone. I hope it's just a part of the world. Anyway.
Well, that's the other problem too. It's, and I've been kind of noticing this a little bit too, just with now that we're in 4.0, right? We have the 3 city-states. We have Ishgard. We have Idleshire. We have Ralger's Reach. We have Kugane. There comes to be a point where you have too many towns, right? I think where it's just everybody is so spread out, and that's not that, like, this isn't 11, like, shout pickups, like, it's still a thing sometimes if you're trying to find people for Party Finder, but back in the day, people would, like, shout in Juno, and that was the way to get groups for stuff, right? But I think there's definitely such a, you can't have, like, an oversaturation of, like, social hubs. And so maybe we get Thavnir, but maybe it's different in where it's not necessarily a town, but it's like a Blitzball lobby. I'm just throwing it out. I think that'd be weird. I'd like to see more of Thavnir, obviously, but I think at some point, they're gonna be like, we don't need a new hub. We just need new areas that attach to existing regions which already have said towns, because otherwise you're gonna have all these empty city states.
It's true.
Or Ishgard will be empty because you have your it's not like there's never not anyone doing Heaven's Word story, but at some point there's not going to be any reason for people to go back there.
Right. I agree.
And so you either need to reinfuse that with new content, or you need to make it so that, there's not like 10 other places you could go to instead of Ishgard.
So Silent Oculus writes that Ellis's link shells are the social hub.
That's true too. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where and I brought up the shout thing. There have been times where I will be, I'll join up like a map party, right? And not everybody is always looking at Party Finder, and so I'll go to Reach, I'll go to Kugane, and I'll shout like, "Hey, by the way, this is up if people want to join." And 9 times out of 10, I get people joining because of those shouts.
Yeah.
You spread that out more, and it gets to be an issue. What 11 did, which I think 14 could actually really do it too, is they introduced a yell command. You had like shout and yell, and what yell would do is it would then put that in the chat channel of all the city states, so that you didn't have to worry about, if I'm going to go shout in the Reach, you go shout in Kugane, I'll go shout in Ishgard or something like that. It would just have one thing, everybody in the social spaces in the town sees it, and that would be nice too. I mean, obviously, like, I guess there's potential for like an enormous amount of like RMT abuse from that, but random thought. I don't even know how I got to that. I forget what we were even talking about.
All kinds of things. One of our most passion-filled, podcasts. I felt a little weird to start, but so much passion.
All right, our next topic. Now that we're done with that, let me bring this image here and space it out since I forgot to add it earlier. Gaming resolutions. It's going to be the new year soon. Yeah. People do New Year's resolutions. That's a thing that some people still do. And so we want to know what your gaming goals are for 2018. And the nice thing about this is it doesn't have to be specific to 14. Everybody plays games that aren't 14. It's fine. We support that. Need a break sometimes, or there's other really awesome games that are out. So after the show gets posted, we'll have the post up on the blog. You can tweet at us, throw it up on our Aetheryte Topics, Aetheryte Radio Topics channel on our Discord, and let us know what you guys are looking forward to with games in the next year. If you're streaming or want to stream, if you're trying to hit up your backlog. Or, if you just want to do all of it and stream your backlog, whatever you guys want to do, let us know, and we will read those on the next episode of Aetheryte Radio, which we are looking at, we're aiming for January 6th for that, since there's some holidays coming up, so we won't be able to do our usual, I say usual, like we've been doing this schedule forever. This is like the third time I think we've been actually able to keep up with our monthly show, more or less. It's because it's technically December, but anyway. January 6th is what we're looking at, so make sure to get involved with the discussion, and we'll read your comments on the next episode. Also, with the end of the year coming up, we just wanted to throw a few things out there. We will be doing our Gamerscape Top Games of 2017 list that we do every year based off of the reviews that we've done, so we are already working on that. Shout out to Firemarth. Also, I want to give a big shout out to our reviews team. This year we did 11 more reviews than we did last year. 55 titles we reviewed here on the site. We had more reviewers helping out. Onwell reviewed Nier for us. So lots of cool stuff going on there. Big shout out to those guys for all their hard work. It's also been one of our best years for the blog. Lots of people loving those job write-ups that Aldino did off of the Stormblood Media Tour. We're still getting a bunch of hits on those every day, even though the expansion's been out for half a year now. So just a giant shout out and thank you to everybody that's been doing that. We are always looking for writers as well. It is voluntary. We don't make that much money. But you can get your name on it if it's something like a hobby or something you're interested in. We're looking for really right now general games, just news posts, new trailers, stuff like that. I'd also love to have a couple people that are really involved in 14. I have all these awesome ideas that I keep wanting to do, but nobody has the time to do them, including myself, which stinks. So if there's
that, though, like, because you said for a hobby, so if you're interested in doing game journalism and things like that, this ends up being something that you can kind of add to your resume as a part of a body.
Oh, totally.
them. So it is like I'm not paid. This is volunteer, but it's that essentially that if you guys are looking to break into games journalism, game industry, it is something that is very helpful. And at least if nothing else, you can sit back and say, if you apply to any of the bigger sites or sites that can hire you as a freelancer, it does help. It's do something. If you want to be a writer,
as I'm sure the non-paying job is super tempting for a lot of people nowadays, right? That don't have time to begin with. But if anyone is interested, we do have our volunteers page. You can scroll down to the bottom at gamerscape.com. We have that, and all the instructions are there for that. If anyone is interested, we'd love to talk to you. And then that's going to do it here for the show. I want to thank everybody that tuned in on Twitch. I'm tempted to take a big break now and go build that chair before I start streaming.
I would. If I were
You can show it off during the stream. You go look at this chair. How comfortable am I in my new chair?
It's so comfortable. I might have to see it. I need a break anyway. I forgot I turned the heat on in here because we're in December now, and I totally forgot to turn it off before we streamed, and it kind of hit me halfway through. I'm like, damn, it's warm in here. Oh, right. So yeah, maybe I'll take a quick. What's that?
Is you streaming building the chair count as content towards Extra Life?
I don't know. I would.
I don't know because I still have all these boxes with all the giveaway items. I don't know if I have enough room to lay everything out in here. So maybe I'll take a half-hour break.
All right.
I'll have to see. I haven't seen the box yet. I don't know how big it is. We'll see. Anyway, Flattus, shout-outs, plugs that you want to do.
Sure. You can find my show, Maelstrom Radio, at twitch.tv/Maelstrom Radio. You can find us at our website at maelstromradio.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Maelstrom Radio. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at Maelstrom_radio. If you like Final Fantasy XIV and you like the news, but you also like laughing, it's probably the show for you. Sometimes there's no news, and that's when we decide to do Choose Your Own Adventures, which we write within the lore of the game, and those are hilarious. So sometimes we break the fourth wall with those. And when I mean sometimes, I mean all the time we break the fourth wall with them. So nothing we do is lore canon-wise, but it is a lot of fun. And we do involve the Twitch audience with that. So we preload the questions, and that way you can vote on what option 1, 2, 3, or 4 might be and how the story will play out. So
very cool. Speaking of questions, too, as we start to wrap up, if anybody on Twitch tuning in live right now does have questions, we will take a couple minutes here after the outro to answer any of those that you might have for us. Brian, you do a lot of stuff besides this.
Yes, sir.
People have actually come onto the show and say, hey, it's that guy from Work to Game, which seems a little weird because you've been doing this for quite a while before that. But anyway, tell us about what you've been doing.
Work to Game obviously started with the concept of controller guides. Literally where Michelle challenged me to fit Black Mage on a controller before the Blue Cross hotbar even existed. And so it kind of started and grew out of that. So we're on YouTube, Work to Game, where we post. It started off with just various guides, focusing it on helping new players get acclimated into the game. One of the things I felt a lot of people weren't hitting, and just where I would end up spending a lot of time writing up individual guides for players, and because they'd be in game and like, I'm struggling with this concept. So we started just with that concept in mind to really kind of help players get introduced to the game and try to get them spun up. And this also is in line with Yoshi P's comments where there's a huge discrepancy in the gap of skill. And my thought was, if I can help raise the bottom to the middle, then I've done at least a good job. Somebody else can help them take it the rest of the way. And so you, again, like I said, YouTube / channel, whatever, Work to Game, you can Google us there. We're also on Twitch. And so as a part of Stormblood, we started streaming a little bit more. So I streamed for Gamer Escape, and I just did some streaming of World of Final Fantasy, which was a lot of fun. And that's on the Gamer Escape one. But over at Work and the number 2 Game, you can actually follow us and watch us on Twitch as well. And then the YouTube, the Twitters, which is Work to Game, and it's spelled TO everywhere except for Twitch, because I suck at consistency across the board. But anyway, so our YouTube channel has evolved into the sense that we do opinion pieces about, people will typically come in and say, I thought you were a Final Fantasy channel. And it's like, listen, guys, I love Final Fantasy. I love anything Final Fantasy. I'm playing a ton of Final Fantasy 15 right now, but we'll talk about Destiny. We'll talk like I love games, and it's become more the expression of the joy of gaming. If I was going to summarize it, anything like that. But I'd love to see you guys over there as well. We have been putting out a ton of content, and maybe some of it will be enjoyable to you. If not, you can let me know, because everybody does. Let me know.
everybody lets you know how amazing your content is in the YouTube comments, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and they love how I mispronounce things too. They love it.
It's true.
Anyway.
That is a thing that you do.
Yes, it is.
I won't try and beat around the bush. That's a real thing. All right. So if you want to contact us here at Aetheryte Radio, as the thing takes too long to transition, you can email us at aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can tweet at us at Aetheryte Radio. We are also on there as Gamerscape as well on Facebook. You can hit us up on our Discord channel, discord.gg/gamerescape. Get involved with our topics discussion for your gaming resolutions. We'll read those on or around January 6th with the next episode. Also, you can get us on Google Play Music and iTunes. We are also putting up these shows on YouTube. Feel free to drop comments or reviews. Let people know what you think of the show. Tell people about the show if there's people getting into 14. And that will do it for this episode of Aetheryte Radio. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. And we will see you next time.
I'm waving. They can't even see me. Bye, everybody.
I'm moving it back. You can wave now. It's okay. So if there's no questions other than Silent Eclipse going cheers build stream ? I'm gonna have to do this, aren't I? I think this is gonna have to happen.